What exactly is an empire? Empires are everywhere in history, but what really defines one? Yuval Noah Harari begins by clarifying the concept. An empire is a political order with two key traits: diverse populations and a single dominating center. It's not just about size or military might, it's about cultural absorption, hierarchical power, and the ability to rule over many different people with different customs, languages, and religions. From the Roman Empire to the British Raj, empires have shaped how we live today. Borders, institutions, even languages. We owe much of it to imperial frameworks. But here's the kicker. Most of us live in a world built by empires, yet we rarely stop to question whether that's a good or bad thing. We often associate empires with oppression, and rightly so. But Harari urges us to go deeper. The story of empires is not black and white. It's complex, conflicted, and human. Most people in the 21st century are the offspring of one empire or another. Empires are more than brutal conquests. They're systems of influence that still pulse through our everyday life. The paradox of imperialism. Here's where it gets complicated. Empires destroy, but they also build. They slaughter and enslave, yet often spread knowledge, infrastructure, and peace. That's the paradox. Empires can be both destructive and productive at once. Take the Roman Empire, for example. Its military crushed countless cultures, but it also gave the Western world roads, aqueducts, and law systems that still influence us today. The British Empire? Yes, it exploited India, but it also introduced railways, a common legal code, and the English language, elements that would later help unify a deeply fragmented region. This doesn't excuse the cruelty, it contextualizes it. Harari is brutally honest. Many of the rights, knowledge systems, and institutions we cherish today, science, global trade, even human rights, only flourished because empires created stable conditions for them to grow. Sometimes through brute force, sometimes through diplomacy, often through both. So, what should we make of this? Are empires the villains or the unsung heroes of human progress? Harari doesn't answer directly. Instead, he challenges us to live in that uncomfortable in-between. Empires have played a decisive role in forging today's global order. They weren't always moral, but they were effective. Culture as a tool of control. If empires were only about violence, they wouldn't have lasted. What really made empires thrive was something far more subtle and powerful: cultural manipulation. Harari shows how empires didn't just impose their rules, they reshaped minds. They often allowed local customs and religions to persist, but only when they didn't threaten imperial authority. Some even adopted local traditions into their own systems to legitimize control. Think of Alexander the Great dressing like a Persian king, or the British monarchs adopting Indian aristocratic titles. These weren't gestures of respect. They were power moves, and over time, conquered peoples often internalized imperial values. Even language played a huge role. Latin, Arabic, English. These weren't just tools of communication, they were vessels for imperial ideology. Learning the language of the empire often meant access to power, but it also meant thinking like the empire. Cultural conquest gave birth to some of the greatest creations of humanity. Ironically, this cultural blending also led to innovation. The Silk Road, the spread of Islam, the printing press, all emerged from imperial dynamics. When cultures clash under a single political roof, new ideas ignite. So, yes, empires coerced, but they also connected, sometimes even created. Resistance, rebellion, and adaptation. Of course, empires weren't accepted quietly. Throughout history, oppressed peoples resisted in ways both fierce and subtle. Some fought back with violence, revolutions, and revolts. Others resisted through culture, religion, or preservation of tradition. But here's the twist. Many times, the most effective strategy was adaptation. Harari shares examples of how conquered populations learned to navigate the empire's systems and use them for their own advancement. Take Indian elites under British rule. Many became English educated, entered colonial administration, and later used that very knowledge to lead the movement for independence. Or think of Christianity in the Roman Empire. It started as a persecuted sect, but ultimately conquered the empire from within, becoming the official religion. Empires often sowed the seeds of their own destruction by empowering people just enough for them to rise. The most successful resistance is often disguised as cooperation. This isn't a story of passive victims, it's a story of adaptability, intelligence, and long-term strategy, and it's one reason why no empire lasts forever. Are empires gone, or just rebranded? So what about today? Many people assume we live in a post-imperial world, but Harari isn't so sure. Sure, the formal empires collapsed in the 20th century, colonial flags came down, nations declared independence, but did the logic of empire ever really disappear? Global superpowers still exert control over vast regions. Corporations influence entire populations. Languages, currencies, and ideologies dominate across borders. Harari argues that while traditional empires may be gone, the imperial mindset lives on. Think about it. Who writes the rules of the global economy? Who decides what counts as progress? Who controls the narrative of history? From Hollywood to Silicon Valley to Wall Street, cultural and economic empires still shape the world. The tools have changed. The goals? Not so much. The imperial engine continues to drive much of our global story. And here's the haunting question. Is a world without empires even possible? Harari doesn't offer false hope. He simply reminds us that understanding the past is the first step to shaping the future. Chapter 11 of Sapiens is a powerful reminder that history isn't a clean moral tale. It's messy, complicated, and full of contradictions. Empires built the modern world, but at what cost? Yuval Noah, Harari doesn't glorify empires, he dissects them. He forces us to ask the hard questions. Who benefited? Who suffered? And are we still living in their shadow? As you walk through modern cities, speak global languages, and participate in a world economy, you are witnessing the ghost of empire in action. History isn't dead. It's the foundation beneath our feet.